What's up, guys? DMA here, coming at you with another video because I can and I will. We are in the world of Fallout 4 today. There are some pretty big there are probably going to be some minor to major spoiler stories in this, so if you haven't completed the story, I would do so and then come back to this video. Or, you know, you can just stop watching the video and then just do whatever. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm not forcing you to watch. But yeah, there are going to be some story spoilers in this. I'm not going to be doing any quests or anything, but once you complete the campaign according to what you do, and I did everything for the Brotherhood, so, you know, there are some long-lasting effects on the entire world that, you know, will make it spoiler-esque. So, yeah, that's a thing. So, anyways, I want to actually talk about today, not story, not any quests, random quests, any base building or anything, even so I'm probably going to be doing something like that. What I wanted to talk about, is it too early to talk about DLC? Because I have a lot of great ideas of what they could do for DLC, but a lot of people are like, oh, the game just came out, and, you know, it's too early to talk about DLC and stuff, and blah, 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 blah. I know there are a lot of people who are like, what, the game just came out, not but like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. You can't be talking about DLC right now. I have to reply to them, I have already beaten Fallout 4. I have done pretty much almost every side quest, I've done every mission, main story mission, aside from the ones where you choose the different factions, because I don't really like re-going and seeing what I could have done, because it feels not as so much as a waste of time, but as much as I already have everything I want. And say if I really liked one of the other endings, and I don't like what I did personally as one of the endings, you know, but I'm already stuck with this one unless I just go back and redo everything. And I've already invested a lot of time into my settlements and into, you know, my weapons and my companions and building things, that going back and getting another ending, you know, it would be really torturous, because look at everything I've done. You know, I've built a whole bunch of stuff. I have many people in my settlements. You know, I have 20 people in Sanctuary alone, 11 at the Red Rocket truck stop. I have another 7 over there. You know, I'm starting to get all my settlements hooked up with supply lines. It's just so much that I would have to redo, and it would be very time consuming. So, you know, I don't really want to go back and do that. I mean, I know Fallout has always had a good story, and I would love to see the different endings. And I might actually go and see what would happen if I sided with Institute. But, you know, I'm not going to, because I've already invested so much time in it. But, anyways, we're not here to talk about story. We're going to talk about DLC. So, the answer to the question is it too early to speak about DLC is no. Because, yes, the game just did come out, and you know, if it was like the day after the game just came out, yes, that would be way too early. You know, 1.5, maybe 2 weeks after, it's still a little early to really say anything other than about the game, because a lot of people, you know, who actually have lives, because I don't, you know, still probably haven't beaten the game. They probably are still doing some quests and things, you know, that pertain to the story, in which I am not, because I've already done everything. You know, I have almost 100 hours in the game, which is a lot less than some people, but, you know, it's a lot more than your average Joe who has a job and, you know, doesn't review games for a living and things like that, you know. But I have above average play hours for a normal person, but below average for, you know, anyone else, like, you know, a game reviewer and things. So, yeah. But no, it's not too early to talk about DLC, because, like I said, you know, it's been, you know, about a week or a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks since the game has came out. It came out on the 27th of October. And let me just look real quick, because I'm not good with remembering things and stuff and reasons. Because, you know, stuff. Yeah, it's been, let me see here, about, yeah, about almost maybe 3 weeks since the game has come out. Actually, it's been about 2 or 3 weeks. Actually, I was off. I said 1.5. Either way, 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
So that that's even longer of time. So no, it's not
That place is nothing but trouble.
a bad time to talk about DLC. What I would like to see is I would like to see maybe the game pre-war, like a full Fallout 4 pre-war, where you're fighting, China, or something like that. Or maybe they could come out with an entirely DLC, where you go back to Washington. I would love to go back to DC. Go and see how things are. 11 years in the future, because if you look at the Pip-Boy, I mean, it's 2288. Fallout 3 takes place in 2277, which, is exactly 200 years, after the war. Well, not exactly, depending on what day it is, but you get what I mean. And now it's like 11 years after. I would love to see what happened, what events transpired. Maybe they can make it so, they're like, oh, we're releasing an update, so, it'll, everyone, like, because they give you the free copy, 3 for pre-ordering. Maybe they could say, oh, well, if you go and you play the Xbox One backwards compatible version of, Fallout 3, it will recognize what you've done, and it will change this, Washington or DLC accordingly. The DC DLC. Maybe you could change it accordingly. Like if you go and you replay through Fallout 3 and you blow up Megaton, which was a thing you could do. Maybe it would be like, oh well, accessing this person's saves, we see that he blew up Megaton. And then you go there 11 years in the future, and, Megaton's all blown up, it's all destroyed, and you could go to, what was the place with all the ghouls? It was Undercity? What was it? No, it wasn't Undercity. I forget what the name of it was, but you go into the place with all the ghouls, and you can find, Moira Brown, one of Fallout's most loved characters, obviously. She wasn't annoying at all. And I actually did like her. She could be kind of annoying, but I actually did like Moira Brown. But you could go there and you could find her, That would be amazing. And just exploring the DC Wasteland, in HD would be an amazing feat in and of itself. Of course, if you did release a DLC of that size, in counting the entire DC area, it would probably be about the full size of another game. But then again, that's what you want with DLC, isn't it? You don't want, a tiny little tidbit. You're paying like, I don't know. Of course, it would probably be a lot more than $15 for them to recreate the entire thing. But then again, it might not, because all they really have to do is redo the textures and some other things and enhance it a little bit. You don't really have to... Or that's what I'm thinking anyways, but you don't really have to go in and recreate the entire DC area, so... But who knows, maybe, if they recreated the entire DC area, and charged full retail price for it at around $40, I would have no problem with it, as long as it had, enough quests to keep me going, like, the same amount of quests that are in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, not combined, but I mean just stand alone. That would be an amazing feat, and I would totally pay $30, $40, maybe even $50 for it. That would be an amazing DLC that I would love to see. Just going in there, seeing all your previous characters, like Moira Brown, and you could see the sheriff of Megaton. Well, actually, if you blew up Megaton, I guess you couldn't. But it would be amazing to see. Interesting. I would love that. That would be one of the best things that Bethesda could ever do for me, is recreating an area from a previous game, or even making an entire pre-war world where you could just explore. There was no fighting, nothing to do, just go around and explore. I would easily pay, $20 to $30 for an entirely pre-war Fallout. I would have no problem paying that. And I think a lot of people, aside from me, wouldn't have a problem paying that either. Especially if you get the season pass, it's only like $30 or $40. So if it comes with the season pass, which it probably should, you know, you could get it for free. So, well, free in retrospect of you bought it and you don't have to pay, you know, it, and you could get other probably they'll probably have micro DLCs for this game, but you could have other micro DLCs for free too. So amazing to see, you know. And what if they did create the DC again? What if they did make it so how you affected it matters? And maybe what if they didn't? What if you could say encounter the 101 what was he, the Lone Vault Wanderer? I think he was the Lone Vault Wanderer, or because in Fallout 4 you're the sole survivor, I think. No, you're the Lone Wanderer. I don't know. I never really kept track of the names like that. But anyways, what if you could encounter the Vault Dweller from Vault 101? What if when the DLC started, you know, it's like, oh, hey, you found this new radio signal or something, or this happened. You know, kind of like Tales from Two Wastelands. You know, the mod for Fallout 3 New Vegas. You go and you start playing the Fallout 3. Of course, you'd have to start up New Vegas, but you start Fallout 3, and you're born into this world. You complete Fallout 3, you do everything, and then you go into the train station. You buy your ticket, and you travel to New Vegas. It ties in so perfectly with the story, too, in a sense that, sure, the games are different, and you don't have, say, you know, you're not a Vault Dweller in New Vegas, but it does kind of tie into the story, and it's kind of perfectly how they did it, because when you think about it, your past is unknown to everyone in New Vegas. It's like, all they know about you is you're a courier for the Mojave Express. Which, it's like, oh, yeah, I bought this train ticket, I went to, you know, this place, and yeah, I became a courier for the Mojave Express. And then one day, you get shot in the head. Because no one really knows who you are. No one knew if you did come from a vault or not. So, it kind of, I could see how if you really change things, like, just minor changes, you could tie New Vegas and Fallout 3 together. Perfectly in sync. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I escaped from Vault 101, or not really, well yeah, it would be escaped. I escaped from Vault 101, you know, and, you know, I helped out the DC area, and then I bought a train ticket and I wanted to come to the Mojave, or, you know, the surrounding areas, to see if I could help things over there. You know, so I became a courier to, you know, kind of spread the word, and, you know, to live a simpler life, maybe. You know? I think that would be an amazing thing, and it's like, oh yeah, and then one day if I got a package and I got shot in the head, why? I don't know, but I'm going to track down the person who did it, you know, to get some answers. It would fit in so well, and I'm thinking they could do that for Fallout 4, you know? In Fallout 3, you know, you get born into the world. Of course, they wouldn't have you redo Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, but still, it's like, you know, you go and you do Fallout 4, you complete it, and then, you know, you want to go back to Fallout 3, you know, it's 11 years later. You go and say you're just walking around, and you find the Vault Dweller. And I was actually going to say this earlier, but I kind of got off track. But what if you could recreate the Vault Dweller? What if you could, like, had all the same hairstyles, all the same clothing options? What if once you started the DLC, you got to live the final, like, some of the final moments, like, some of the final moments when you redid Project Purity, when you helped it, when you did Project Purity along, when you know, advanced its progression and actually saved the DC area from irradiated water. What if you could recreate your character from Fallout 3 in the final moments of what happened? And then Fallout 4, you know, and then your Fallout 4 character can come and meet your Fallout 3 character. That would be simply amazing. That would be one of the best DLCs any game ever that I have ever played. Now, some of the older hands will probably can think of a better DLC than that. But be an amazing DLC that no one would forget in any time soon. It would just be simply stunning. So yeah. So if you want that DLC, go tweet at Bethesda, because I don't have Twitter, so go do that for me, and go tell them we want to go back to the DC area. Yeah, no, okay, don't do that, because they'll probably just get really annoyed. So, yeah, that's only one idea. So let's think of another. Let's just think here. I'm not going to say pre-war in the sense, because I already said they should have one pre-war, but I'm not going to say pre-war in the sense of what I already went along. But what if they made a pre-war where, let's say you could, I don't know, be part of Vault-Tec, maybe. Or not be part of Vault-Tec. But, like, say you could go and find Vault-Tec. And, like, say, like, yeah, like, you could find Vault-Tec and become a part of them. I think somewhere in the lore, I'm not sure if this was canon or not, but I think there was a thing that said Vault-Tec was actually destroyed. I know you can find the Vault-Tec HQ in Fallout 3. I think you can. And you can find the Vault-Tec regional HQ in Fallout 4, which is in the greater area of just the main city. It's like, it's somewhere around, wait, was that it? No. It's somewhere around here, but you can find the Vault-Tec regional headquarters. That's exactly what it's called, is Vault-Tec regional headquarters. But you can find it somewhere along here, you know, and say, what if, because all they would have to do is, like, what if you did find it? And what if you went to the Vault-Tec regional HQ and say you suddenly got a quest? You know, it's like you heard a radio signal saying, and there was someone saying, I survived at the Vault-Tec regional HQ, please come help me. And then you go there, and you find a Vault-Tec representative. You know, it would, and you were able to, say, help him or rebuild Vault-Tec or something. I think that would be freaking amazing. That would be one of the best things. Of course, Vault-Tec is a pretty scummy company, as a lot of people probably know, because, you know, yeah, Vault-Tec created the vaults, but it doesn't take a genius to see what these vaults were truly made for. Yeah, there were some control vaults, you know. There was Vault 101, which was supposed to be a controlled vault. I can't really think of any other vaults that were supposed to be a control vault. All I can think of is Vault 101 off the top of my head, but anyways, Vault 101, control vault. But then you go and you find, like, Vault, I think it's 80... Which vault is it? Is it 85? It was some vault with the Gek. It was the one in Fallout 3 where you go and you find the Gek from that vault. You know, and you go there and you read the terminals. They're like, oh, this was a vault, and it has a Gek. Cool. And then you read some more of the terminals, and it says, oh, we were injecting people with FEV, and then it gets a really dark tone from there, and yeah. So, yeah, that's a pretty... You could go and say, find answers. Why they did it. You know, because I don't think there's any real answers to why they did it. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it was somewhere in the lore where Vault-Tec was hired by the government to create these vaults with experiments. I'm not sure if that's canon or not. I'm not sure if I'm remembering that right, but I think they were actually hired by the government to make these vaults and make experiments with them, because the vault I was talking about with where they were injecting people with FEV, they were doing that to see if they could create the perfect super soldier, which ultimately failed, and that's what led to the super mutants, if you don't know. But, yeah, so they were injecting people, they were trying to create the perfect super soldier, and then it all ended up, you know, going wrong. Of course, when you think about it, they halfway succeeded. They did create a super soldier. Or, well, a super something. It's a super mutant. But, you know, they do have a lot more strength. You know, they're a lot bigger. They can take a punch, or 2, or 10. But they're green. They're sexless. And they're dumb. Really, really dumb. And you can find some that are actually quite smart, like Fox. He's not the dumbest super mutant there is, but he's definitely not the smartest. You know, and you can find, oh, what's his name? It's Uncle something. You can find that one super mutant I forget what his name is. This uncle. If you remember who I'm talking about, put it in the comments below. It's Uncle something, but you can find him just roaming around. And you go up and talk to him. He's like, I'm sorry, I've been a bad host. Let me give you this as a gift. You know, it's really kind of funny because it's like, oh, a random super mutant wanted to give me stuff. He's like, okay, that's cool. But then again, you can't help but feel bad for him because he's like, you know, he's a super. First off, he's a super mutant, which should make you feel bad for him in the first place. But then he thinks he should give you all of his stuff because he's being a terrible host. You know, and then you can be a real dick about it and be like, oh yeah, you're a terrible host. You need to give me all your stuff. You know, which that's just a dick thing to do. I would never do that. When I first found him, you know, I was like, you know, I found him and I was like, oh, this is kind of funny, you know, but at first I was going to shoot him, but I was like, you know, this is kind of funny. And then I saw that option. I'm like, who would pick that? Who would be that guy who would say, oh yeah, you owe me everything you have? I just couldn't do it. In Fallout, I have to be the nice guy. Why? Because I do. As you will see in my playthrough if you watch it. Which the next part should be coming out tomorrow. Maybe. Either way, but you know, just going and getting answers from Vault-Tec would be an amazing DLC. You know, even if you don't get exactly all the answers you're looking for, just going and seeing how Vault-Tec is, you know, that would be in and of itself amazing. So I would like to see maybe a Vault-Tec DLC or a pre-war DLC, or you know, going back to the DC area, or maybe going back to one of the places in Fallout 1 or 2. I forget exactly where Fallout 1 and 2 took place. Where did they take place? I don't really know. I haven't exactly played Fallout 1 or 2, but that's because, you know, I started with Fallout 3, and I was just like, oh, this is cool, and then by the time I learned about the first ones, it's like, first off, I would love to, but then again, getting it to work because I have Windows 10 would probably be a pain in the arse. And then, you know, you can't go by 1920 by 1080 and resolution and things like that. I mean, graphics and resolution, it's not the only thing. Gameplay can suffice, but I just don't want to go out of my way, and it probably won't work, and then things like that, and me have to go and do a whole bunch of stuff. It would just be, you know, I don't want to deal with all of it. But I would, you know, I do know enough about them, so, because I love the lore for Fallout 4 and 3 and just all the Fallouts. It's just amazing. But yeah, I would love to see any of those DLCs. That would be amazing. You know, even going back to Fallout 1 or 2. You know, the area that they're in. Or what if you could have a Brotherhood DLC? Like, kind of like, because Operation Anchorage wasn't technically, it wasn't a military DLC, but it wasn't technically a Brotherhood DLC either. Because you were helping the Brotherhood, or well, you were helping the outcasts. But you were helping the outcast, but you were also going back and fighting the Chinese on Operation Anchorage. So it's kind of a mixture of the both. But I would like to see, you know, another DLC like that. It would be kind of cool. Or like, what DLC was it? They had Operation Anchorage, Mothership Zeta, an Alien DLC. I hope they wouldn't probe me this time. Actually, there's no proof that they did in Fallout 3 either. But you were, like, they did. You when you woke up in the mothership, you didn't have any clothes on, so you can only assume what happened. Either way, it would be interesting to see. So if they had, you know, another Mothership DLC, they could have an Operation Anchorage DLC, or, you know, a, what was the name of it? Where you were, the name of the DLC where you were fighting the hillbillies and stuff like that. I can't remember what the name of it was. Point Lookout. Yeah, Point Lookout. Those hillbillies were always freaking tough as hell. I never really wanted to fight them, but you know, you kind of have to when they're running at you. But yeah, another Point Lookout DLC would be good. Point Lookout was really trippy though. Like it was, oh gosh, it was. There were some things in that DLC which could bring nightmares to anybody, if you know what I'm talking about. It was like really trippy. And then of course, you had the I don't remember the name of it, but where you went to Pittsburgh. That was a pretty interesting DLC where you were helping all the slaves and you had to do that. That'd be pretty cool. Of course, you know, all these ideas, they'd have to change them, because if they were like, oh, we're gonna come out with a DLC, you know, it's like, oh, what's it about? Saving slaves from this area. But isn't that like when we went to Pittsburgh? Yeah, kinda. What do we gotta do? Save some slaves, there's a baby. But there was a baby in Pittsburgh, and yeah, there was. Yeah. It's like, but shouldn't you have changed it? Nah, we like it. It's like, okay. So, of course, they would have to change it, but I think it could be a very nice DLC to see something from the past. Like, you know, like I said, I would love to go back to the DC area. Or maybe if we could go back to Nevada, you know, and, you know, go and, like, say the NCR is taking over, or maybe you could choose. Like, say, because they Fallout 3 and be like, oh, replay the entire game, or at least replay the entire game up until this point, and it will change the future of this DLC. No, they might have it at the beginning. You'd be like, you know, do you want, you know, Megaton to be blown up? Do you want this to happen? You know, if you could go back to Nevada, you would say, which faction did you choose to rule? Did you choose the NCR, Mr. House, or did you choose the Legionaries? Who did you choose to assist? And, you know, of course, I went with the NCR. Well, actually, I went with the NCR, but I made it so the Brotherhood and the NCR were not hating each other. So, I would love to see if we could go back into Nevada or the DC or Pittsburgh, not so much, because it was a really tight and closed-in area. Maybe if they broadened it, you know, made it a bigger area. Or maybe New York. New York would be an amazing place to go to. Or maybe we could go to South Carolina, because that's where I am. You didn't hear that. I mean, I'm going to South Carolina. I mean, South Carolina is pretty crap. But it might still be pretty cool to see my own hometown, you know, in my own state just gone kablooey. Because that would be the best thing ever. Who doesn't want their state to get blown up by Bethesda? You know, Bethesda can blow anything up and get away with it. You know, I'm pretty sure at this point Bethesda is better at explosions than Michael Bay. Just saying. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Look at this, Julie. Look at this. So, yeah, in a fight, I would say Bethesda wins over Michael Bay any day. So, yeah. So, I would love to see, you know, any place blown up by Bethesda. So, yeah. But I would really like to go back to the DC area. So, yeah. That's all I really want to talk about in this video. If you have any ideas of what they can do for DLC next, leave it in the comments below. Tell me what you thought of my ideas, going back to the DC area, going back to, you know, Nevada. If you want to go back to the areas in Fallout 1 or 2, maybe, you know, just leave it in the comments below if you want a pre-war DLC, anything. So, yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about. And so, yeah, remember, you can't change the past, but you can always change the future.